Hello. Today I'll be talking about the proof of God's existence. So I revised this, so this will be more, how do I say this? More factual, more to the point, less bias. So this is what I'm trying to achieve over time. So this is just a refinement, and hopefully I can get this to perfection about how God responds back, how to prove that he's against sin with facts that lead up to that conclusion. And so this is an ongoing process, and hopefully this will continue. So I've included the secular section to make the explanation as factual as possible. So starting off, if you open up your heart, this is metaphorical, you will receive a guilty conscience about past immorality committed. This is what we describe as guilty conscience, and this is uncomfortable. And one can get a guilty conscience of what's not based on morality. So this can include cussing on one's own, getting drunk, bowing down to other gods, or dealing with the occult. So these aren't based on morality, but one can get a guilty conscience from these four as well. So that guilty conscience will be there again for those four. So if you get a guilty conscience from those four above, then you need to explain why you're getting a guilty conscience. So if one blatantly continues in immorality for a month, bad events not associated with your immorality will increase. This includes the four above that is not based on morality. And I try not to use sin because more accurately is immorality. And so after you confess all your immorality and stop continuing in this immorality, you can think about it in your mind before acting on it. You will receive a guilty conscience of that immorality in the mind. So that's another way that God is against that immorality even immediately in the mind. You can receive an uncomfortable sensation of committing those four, which is not based on morality. You must confess each one, and the guilty conscience will go away. So there is a correlation. I've talked about this before, that there is a correlation. If you blatantly continue in sin or immorality for a month, bad events not associated with that immorality will increase. So if there's a correlation, I've talked about this before, towards that expected line, in more details I've explained this, then there's a correlation. If all those data points of those relationships are converging on that expected value line. And so the only way to prove that is for enough people to do this on their own and to see that there's a correlation. So if one receives a guilty conscience of what is not based on morality, such as cussing on one's own, getting drunk, bowing down to other gods, or dealing with the occult, then this is the first statement. If one blatantly continues in sin or immorality for a month, bad events not associated with your immorality will increase. So the quantity of bad events will increase. This includes what is not based on morality. This is a second statement. So if those two statements are true, then this shows that someone or something is intervening in your life. So the logic of statement 1 and statement 2 should not be there, but it is there. Enough people need to do statement 1 and statement 2 to confirm that these two are factual. And so I talked about this before in more details about if one blatantly continues in this immorality for a month, bad events not associated with your immorality will increase. If they are associated with your immoralities, then you can just ignore them because that's a bias. So if you write all the bad events that happened during those first month, write all of them down. And then the second month, do not continue in immorality, write them down. And you will see a difference between the first month and the second month. Yeah. So if that's the case, then there is someone or something intervening to make this logic happen. And so if those two statements are true, then this proves that God is against sin. And enough people need to do this, the more the better. And hopefully the ratio of people telling the truth is pretty high. I believe it is. I believe the ratio will be pretty high, but maybe about 70 to 80%, I'm hoping. We'll say that this works. Again, enough people need to do this. Even if they lie, these disasters in the United States are getting worse over time. And so they will continue to get worse if people continue to continue in sin. And so if these disasters get worse over time, what I'm saying, the probability of what I'm saying, which is true, will go up if these disasters continue to get worse in the United States or in other countries. And so, the guilty conscience, what is not based on morality and equality? Yeah. So this narrows God down to the one who's against sin. There's, about 5 different gods if I narrow him down to the one who's against sin. And so to prove his name, you just need to make fun of the other gods, including the Trinity gods, 3 gods in one, Jesus is God for a week, and the God of the Quran, and all the other gods, while not sinning, and nothing will happen. So he's not going to respond back. So there should be a correlation that your life will get worse if you make fun of him, but none of these gods, nothing will happen. If you do this for a week or 2 weeks, nothing will happen, right? So God is a generic God, is against sin, God of the Jews, or the I am, the one who sent Jesus Christ. To prove his specific name, God needs to speak through a prophet in first person to talk to him/her about his/her sins. Then he states what his name is through that prophet. And I go into more details about this, how to prove his specific name, in the other video I made previously. If one makes fun of the Son of God, Jesus, for a week while not sinning, this will result in their life getting worse. Bad events not associated with this sin will increase. So don't do this. And if one makes fun of the I am for a week, God the Father, while not sinning, or 2 weeks, this will result in their life getting worse. Bad events not associated with this sin will increase. Don't do this. So this requires, writing down all the bad events that happen in the journal. And I talked about this before, about writing it down in the journal. What happens when you do this while not committing any other sins, and you will see the correlation that everything is getting worse if you do that. So believe that God is the I am. So if all of this works on an individual level, everyone needs to do this individually, then God is the I am, the monotheistic God of the Bible, or believing in that he is that for 2 weeks, and your life will not get worse. Again, if God is jealous and you believe in other gods, then your life, you will not be blessed by God. You will not be set up. You will not be set high above all the nations on earth, as a nation, as a whole. Everything's getting worse in the United States as time progresses, and this will continue to occur. These disasters will get worse as time progresses. And so people need to do this and realize that God is against sin and that he has a specific name, which I talked about more details in the previous video. about how to prove his specific name. And so, yeah, so that's just, again, I'm refining this, making this more accurate, less bias, more facts. And so, yeah, so thanks for watching my videos. I'll come out with more videos about how God responds back and to prove his specific name and which religion he's from. And so, thank you.